back to the show. Our thanks to Doug Allison for joining us as he will do every week. Once we get the basketball season, I think we might be able to get this guy on every week as well. This is Bob Richey. He is the head basketball coach here at Furman, and he has brought his new director of ops, Robby Bostain, in with us as well. New to the position, but not new to Furman. Bob, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you having me on. Glad to have Robby here with us. I do have to make one semi-correction on you. Director of player personnel.
Personnel.
We've just trying to get outside the box a little bit. We dissolved the ops spot.
Okay.
I haven't been around a happy ops person in 12 years of the business. And so trying to realize that, hey, we've got to coach really well. There's two things we've got to do really well. We've got to recruit and we've got to develop. And so we took the two positions that are in quote unquote support spots, but just as valuable as any member on our staff. And we have a director of recruiting who organizes all our on-campus recruiting. And then we have a director of player development, which is Robby, which he oversees our whole Further the Man program. And it's more about developing the person and bringing these 18-year-olds into manhood. And also, he's going to be highly involved in scouting and analytics and his experience as a player here at Furman, as a student here at Furman, and also as a pro.
So a new position created just for you. No pressure, right?
No, not at all. So first, Dan, I appreciate having me on the show here. And I must say you have the best view on campus.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
But no pressure. Just first, obviously, real grateful for Coach Richey for bringing me on, and excited to help and bring some experience to the staff and help these guys grow and get to that next level.
I know one of the things that Bob and I talked about at length yesterday, something that Nico started when he was here, and Bob's trying to take it to another level, and that is reconnecting former players to the program. And the way I understand it, you are hopefully going to be a link and a big piece to that puzzle.
Yes, that's something we're starting now. And in my time here, we had a lot of players from international countries, so looking to track them down right now. So a lot of guys I played with, we played like Malay Endoy from Senegal, had guys from Croatia, Germany, Brazil.
Musa from Africa, I believe.
From Senegal. Yeah. So we had guys all over the place, so looking to track them down and build that connection because they've been a little bit out of the loop recently. So absolutely, so that's a big project, and we look forward to bring a lot of those guys back and more involved and up to date with what's going on.
And Bob, from your standpoint, just talk about how important it is to take that to the next level and get not just the former players invested back into this program, but at the same time getting your players to understand, hey, once upon a time, there was some really good basketball at this school. There is a good basketball history here, kind of been forgotten for a long time. And I know that you're trying to get that connection again.
Well, I think one of the dangers in society today is we heroinize people very quickly. Mm-hmm. So we take head coaches, we take CEOs, and we give them individual success, and we think that, hey, they have the secret, right? Mm-hmm. And what you realize, if you study success, if you study any great coach, any great CEO, you can't just worry about, what you individually have to oversee. You've got to build an infrastructure. And that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to come out here and make this, some magic wand that we're just going to, all this stuff's just going to fall into place. We have to build an infrastructure. And part of that infrastructure is our former players because they are a part of this program. Now, the reality is they're disconnected currently. And we've done a great job as we've been able to turn the needle of success in the last few years. A few of them have started to show back up. We had Paul Foster on campus last week, and he
stole him from Doug Allison, right?
He played basketball here, so we have rights to him. So, but Paul hadn't been back on campus in a while, and hasn't been as involved as he wants to continue to be as his kids get older. And so he got to visit with our players. And I went up to Chicago a few weeks ago and spent some time with Matt Streckengast and had an unbelievable time with he and his wife Megan and their three beautiful kids. And they're just excited. They're excited about what we're doing. They want to hear more about it. And I told Robby, it was funny when I interviewed Robby, one of the first things I told him is I said, you know Furman, campus, Furman basketball, but it's going to be a little different. It's going to be a little different. And what I want you to do is I don't want you to come interview. I want you to come be a part of us for a day, and I want you to observe. And then at the end of the day, let's see if this is something you want to do. And I'll never forget him telling me that at the end of the day, He said, Coach, when I was able to witness the further the man element that you had with the team, I'm not sure in all my years of playing that I've seen a conversation in a meeting room with basketball players like that. And that's what we're trying to do. And it's going to take everybody. It's going to take everybody that's associated with this program to get this thing where we want it to go. And we're just trying to lay the groundwork for that.
So I guess the next question would be, where do you want this thing to go, and how do you want it to grow from what Nico kind of already laid?
Well, I think the number, right, is everybody says 1980. That streak of getting to the NCAA tournament. We want to see that up to date. And I think what you want to do is the trick in all that is if you get so infatuated with the outcome of that and that becomes your whole focus, it can dominate you. But if you focus on the process of what it's going to take on a daily basis to get to that, and we're really good at that process, then the byproduct will be that. And so our goal is to win. But the way we win, we feel like is going to be a byproduct of what we do on a daily basis. And we're trying to run a championship level program, and we're trying to develop championship level people.
And what's going to be very interesting about all of that when we finally get to the point that your first season on the sidelines opens up is that barring some unforeseen set of circumstances, you're probably going into the season as the number one preseason pick in the Southern Conference, which is really foreign territory for Furman basketball for a long time after what's been accomplished here in the last 3 seasons. So your first year, you're going to go in with an extreme bullseye, I would imagine, right square on your chest. I don't get the idea that phases you very much, though.
Nah, we love it. I mean, anything, if you don't have expectation, what are you doing? And what we've done this summer is we've just talked about it. We've just brought it right to the table. This is what it is. And, our team has had some very healthy discussions, and we've figured out January and February. We've got that down pat. In the last 2 years, we've had unbelievable runs in January and February. In our last 9 cumulative games in the past 2 seasons, we're 2-7. And we've had to stare that right in the face. And we've had discussions on that. We've brought that to the table. It's not something we're going to hide from. We've got to make that next step. And so, in the age of hashtags, we've developed one. We call it March Forward, and we want to march forward. And part of that is you got to keep stepping forward. You got to stay calm. You got to keep marching forward. You got to know what we're trying to do. And we've had some really good conversations to a point where we've got to carry this expectation. Nobody's going to feel sorry for us. Nobody's giving us games. We're going to go play all of them. And it's been a while, right? I mean, it's been a while since we've gone into the season with we had a lot of excitement last year going into the season, coming off of that 19-win season. But this is fun. I mean, this is why we do it.
It really is.
Hey, here's a nice little word for the Furman folks, for Furman education. Robby will appreciate this. That March Forward. It's a nice little double entendre. March.
There you go. Big word.
March, right?
I see you, Dan.
That's right.
I see you.
Man,
I'll explain it later.
That's West Virginia's at its finest right there.
That's right. And I'm from West Virginia.
Yeah.
Come on now. This is Bob Richey, the men's basketball coach, Robby Bostain. Let's go back to Robby for a second. During your time here as a player, just kind of capsulize that experience and yet how different the program is now from when you were here.
Right. Yeah. So when I got here, I was, skinny freshman from Atlanta, and we had a very senior heavy team, a lot of international guys. So got thrown right into the fire and got a chance to learn from a lot of older guys. So I redshirted my first year. So I got a chance to learn from older guys and kind of see what it took to get to that next level. And we had a lot of guys, like I mentioned, from different countries. So experiencing how they play basketball and being able to relate to different people. And then, as we went, I thought my time here, we were successful. We were around 500, had a pretty solid team. But I think what Coach Richey is looking to do now, as far as the further the man and off the court, we didn't spend a lot of time off the court in developing that person. I think that's a huge part of success. I think what you do off the court carries over to on the court, especially during those crunch time moments and big moments like that. All that stuff comes out. So we didn't spend a lot of time on that. So I think that's a huge difference from my time here. It was a lot of basketball, but there wasn't that huge emphasis on developing that chemistry and what does that look like and how do you develop that leadership among teammates. So I think that's going to be a huge step forward in developing that now. And obviously the goal is to continue into March, but developing that foundation now will come out in March instead of waiting until the last moment to do it. So really setting that foundation early.
And Bob, unless I'm mistaken, you are a big history buff when it comes to war strategy. Would that be accurate?
I wouldn't say big, but I do keep my eye on history. I think there's a lot of great lessons in history.
How does that apply to what you're trying to do here?
Well, I think, I like to study success from all angles. I like to look at it from coaching, from the business world to generals, right? And seeing what they've done in the past. I think you can go back, obviously, to our first president and George Washington and see the miracle of the Revolutionary War, right? And basically, we call them underdogs today, right? I don't think the average kid, young adult even understands how big of an underdog we were in that role. And to be able to stare challenges dead in the face, to be able to understand that you're not going to win every single battle, right? I mean, how many people realize that? I don't think we won more battles. We just won the most important ones, right? And you've got to understand that this is, we get so high and low in sports. One loss, and I mean, you got people trying to jump off the back of Paladin Stadium, right? And one line I've used a lot this summer is, we just tied the school record for wins in a season. And we had some slip ups, right? I mean, the opening game of the year, and no disrespect to them, they outplayed us that night, but that's basketball, that's life, and that's history of understanding that, hey, you're gonna get knocked back, but what do you do with it? Yeah. And I think that's the next step for this team. I think we have incredible chemistry. I think we love each other. We understand what that looks like. We had a few moments this year, though, where when things quite weren't going our way, when we weren't making shots, we got very defeated, and you could see it in our body language. You can really see it as you watch film in the summer. And we all remember Asheville. I mean, it was just a very, you watch the bench and you watch the facial expressions, and it just fell back. Right.
You just kept waiting for something to happen, and it just never did.
And sometimes in the season it did. Right. And you go to Macon, Georgia, and at the Mercer game, it's not going our way. It's not going our way. The energy's not great. We got ridiculous turnovers, and then bang, Jordan Lyons shows up, right? And then three ball, and you get out of there. And we had those moments of resolve. We had those moments of resiliency, but we got to continue to try to fight for that.
And isn't it interesting, really, with any sport, you can't get too caught up and celebrate the highs too much, and you can't get taken down too much by the lows. You've got to focus on the process, because those things, for the best teams, usually have a way of evening themselves out. You're talking about going down to Mercer. Well, that's a game, unless I'm mistaken, Daniel Fowler hits the game-winning shot. But just go back to Winthrop in a game that we thought we had won, and the kid hits a off-balance
incredible shot,
throwing one up at the buzzer that banked in from about 4 feet behind the three-point line, and suddenly that game is over. So those things are going to kind of even out. It seems to me it's what you do in between.
Absolutely. You got to know who you are. You got to have an identity, and you've got to be able to go to that identity in adverse moments. And this isn't anything new. I mean, Coach Medved did a phenomenal job bringing a blueprint here that's going to work in terms of how do you build a program, how you build an infrastructure. But we got to continue to go back to identity. And, when we lost the first game of the season on a Friday night last year, we went down to Birmingham, and, that Saturday night when we practiced, it was just back to our identity.
Yeah.
We've got to guard. We got to get the ball out. We got to share the ball. We got to move the ball. We got to play fast. And sure enough, go to Birmingham 48 hours later, and I don't remember what the home winning streak was, but it was high. And
it was 27 or 28 for UAB, right?
And really had a decisive win.
Yeah.
And you got to remember that. You got to remember that in sports. You got to remember that in life, right? I mean, things can change in a hurry, good or bad. And so we're trying to continue to teach that. And, it's a long season.
You have, as with any new coach, there are changes. We've talked about hiring this young man here, but you've had to turn over almost your entire staff now. When Coach left and what's transpired since then, besides yourself, only Dwight Perry, I believe, remains from the staff and support staff that was here for the last 2 or 3 seasons. Talk about how you went about your business there and what it is that you like about this staff.
Well, without getting into the weeds too much, I think that when you talk about staff, I have a lot of key mentors that I leaned on, and again, sports, business, whatever it is, it's like restaurants, right? Like there might be 10 steakhouses downtown, and they're all very good. All right, you're gonna like one more than the other, right? But that doesn't mean one's bad and one's good. And sometimes when we're talking about people, right, we try to put them in those two categories. Like he's either really good or he's really bad. Sometimes it's just preference. Sometimes it's personalities. Sometimes it's style. And I had a great experience last week with Coach Sweeney, and got to spend an extended amount of time with him. And one of the comments that really stuck out that he told me as we were talking about staff situations is he said, you can't get caught up in how good or bad they are. That's not what you're measuring. He said, but the power of the room when everybody has a common vision of what we're trying to do, and when everybody is on board with what the philosophy is going forward, there's extreme power, there's extreme growth in that. And so it's just like anybody, when you're taking over something, you want your people, so to speak.
Right.
And, not that it was bad or good people. You want people that you hand selected, said, hey, I'm hiring you to come do this. They see that vision, they agree to it, and you go hand in hand and you do it together. So I wanted, without going through all 15 different things of what I was looking for in a staff, I think this is people, right? Like coaching is relating to people. This is a people business. I wanted people that were very good with people and knew how to communicate, knew how to relate, had a level of empathy to them. I wanted thinkers. I wanted people that brought ideas to the table. In a situation that we're in, I think we all got to be able to recruit. And it's like I say in the office, and when you walk in and Robbie Giles is sitting right there, I want her to know what's going on with our recruiting. And so that was a big deal. I also wanted people that had been in certain territories, right? So you get Trey Meyer. Well, Trey Meyer has been an assistant at Miami of Ohio at an academic institution in the state of Ohio in the MAC, which is a slightly higher league than we're in. So you're able to not say, I want to go recruit Ohio, but you get somebody that knows Ohio, right? So, Ohio, you say, well, why Ohio? Well, it's a top 5 academic state in the country. You've got the MAC, and then you've got Division II. You've got no SoCon equivalent. So right now, right, 2 of our top 6 or 7, if you take John Davis and Jeff Beans, are from the state of Ohio. So, and then, Coach Perry's growth that I've seen has been unbelievable. And obviously I can't speak on recruiting a lot, but I've been so pleased with his growth. He's a great person. He's got a great personality. I wanted to kind of continue to help him with his growth. And I wanted somebody, going from the assistant role to the head coach role, that you could kind of pull under your wing a little bit and say, hey, I'm going to show you what I used to do. And we're going to do it together. And Dwight and we've had a lot of fun with that. And then I wanted, Coach Tom Crean, the former head coach at Indiana, he was really firm with me about this. He said, if you can find a person that's been a head coach before, but that still understands what it takes to be a good assistant, then that's a no-brainer. But you don't need a co-coach. You don't need somebody that comes in here and tries to go be the head coach again. But if they have that experience, then it could really be a plus. And I tell you what, we nailed that with Tyler Murray. Tyler Murray is phenomenal. He's better than I even expected when I hired him. He does a great job of doing that role. He's an excellent recruiter, but he's got some experience where he's been able to come in there and shut the door and say, hey, think about this, think about that. And I've taken his input very valuably. And then with the support roles, we call them support roles. I mean, we're all in this together. Robbie's value is the same as Tyler Murray's value. But I wanted to really focus on developing the person. I think that's key. If we develop the individual, we're gonna develop the program. And then I wanted somebody right now in the world of recruiting. I mean, down the street at Clemson, they have their own department for it, right? So I at least wanted to have our own person for it. And so with Tyler Lewis's background, a former McDonald's All-American, and the culture that he's seen at Butler, I thought he was the perfect guy to do that, and he's done an excellent job. So we got great families. We had a beautiful time last night. I've never been a part of this, but it was just kind of I like to think of ideas and see them implemented. But we all have headshots and team pictures. Well, we got all the families. We got all the kids. We had kids running all over the place. We went out to the Bell Tower, and all the families had their picture. Then we had a staff family group picture together. So we had all those people together. And then we brought our players out there, and we had one huge family picture. And it was just a neat moment. And you see how big of an operation you really have and how important every person is.
Bob Richey, Robby Bostain here in studio with us, along with Forrest Stolting. I'm Dan Scott. As we continue here on the program, coming down the stretch here in the final moments, you got anything?
Yes, you've signed 2 recruits already so far, Andrew Taylor and the other one is slipping my mind right now. Who's the other one you signed?
We haven't signed them yet.
Or verbal commit, excuse me.
We're not allowed to discuss them on air.
Okay.
I can't say
Fair enough.
anything until after they've signed first Wednesday in November.
Yeah, we can edit that out. I'll edit Forrest out anyway.
Yeah.
But generally, you can speak in general
Absolutely.
terms. I know you're very happy with the way that recruiting is going.
Yeah, recruiting's going well. We have a great product here. I mean, that's the thing that people don't realize, that it's our campus is always going to exceed expectation. Our city's always going to exceed expectation, and now the programs at a championship level, we just got to get them here. And that sounds so cliche. We got to get them here, and just had a phenomenal weekend. We're going to take this weekend off for Labor Day, and we got another big time weekend ahead. And recruiting is something that we're always going to be invested in. That you've got to make sure your roster's right. And all this stuff sounds great, but if you don't have your roster right, that makes Robby and I way worse coaches. So we're gonna commit to that daily.
And then before you know it, practice opens up mid-October.
It's coming. I mean, we're guys are over there working out right now. We started workouts yesterday, individual workouts, and we're going to try to squeeze as much skill time out of it as we can, and then start to, kind of ease our way into the team stuff. But I'm holding back. I want to go out there right now. I want to go. I told the staff yesterday, you get to see both sides of it now, right? And you get to see what aggravated you as an assistant, so to say, and then how you view it now looking across the table. And I told the staff yesterday, there was nothing more aggravating as an assistant to have your head coach come tell you exactly what to do in individual workouts, right? Like this is calculus, you know what I mean? And one thing that was great with Coach Medved was he gave us a lot of autonomy. Go develop your players, go develop your position groups. And so I had a ton of fun with Stephen Kroon, right? And I had a ton of fun with Devin Sibley. And one of the most rewarding was being able to develop John Davis, because nobody had any expectation of John Davis. And so I've done the same with our staff. I sit back, I peek in there a little bit. We know what we're trying to do with them. We're all on the same page there, but this is kind of their time, and I'll have my time. It's coming.
You hired him to do a job, right?
Hired him to do a job. You got to go let him do it. And so we've got great coaches. We got great connectors, and they're doing a great job with the guys.
You're vibrating, man. You're ready to roll, aren't you?
Oh man, he's around me all the time now. So I mean, and he's the same way. So that's why we really hit it off. But actually had breakfast with one of our players and this morning, and he was talking about Robby, and Robby's just gotten here, but he was just like, man, I really like this guy, and so we've got a good staff. We're passionate, and we're ready to go.
So once again, Robby, no pressure.
Yeah,
no pressure at all. Just some final thoughts from you before we wrap it up.
Yeah, as you can see, Coach Richey's got a vision, and got a plan. And like you said, just every day sticking to it, and we'll see if that takes care of it come the end of the season. But we're putting in the time now and laying that foundation like you talked about, and we're ready to rock and roll.
So you already got him talking like a coach.
Yeah.
You already got him talking like a coach.
So one thing to preview, just to throw it out there as we close, you and I met yesterday about communicating with our former players and people better, and, catching up in the age of the podcast and trying to develop that. And we'll see when we can roll it out, but we're working on that. But this guy gets the credit for that. And I'll tell a great story about him. He left the interview and he got home, and I had about 7 or 8 questions in interviews. I just threw people out there to kind of throw them off. And one of them is I asked everybody, I'm a big reader, and I asked him, I said, what are the last 3 books you read? And we coach, right? So a lot of times, these guys are making this stuff up and they're trying to remember stuff, and, they're making. And so I asked him, and he starts looking at my bookshelf, and he's like, well, that book right there, that's it. So he gets home and he sends me his reading list of 42 books that he's read the last 2 years, and also starts to send me podcasts. And I have never really gotten into that. As much as I'm in the car, I haven't really gotten into it. So he's got me hooked on this stuff. And I haven't listened to music probably since I met this guy. And so now he's on me, and we're all on a team and trying to figure out how can we communicate to the fan base better. And so once we do that, this is going to be the guy behind all that.
Yeah, which is something, as Coach said, we met about yesterday, and going to see where we can take it and see what we can do.
Absolutely.
All
Absolutely. Right. Well, thanks for having us on, Dan. We enjoy the time, and anytime we can come on, we'd love to do it.
Absolutely. Before we go, hang around just for a second. Trivia answer.
Yes.
Right?
Trivia answer. So the question is involving Furman football, and the question is, what is the longest winning streak Furman has had against Wofford? The illustrious rivalry against the Terriers.
Got a guess?
I'm going to go 9 games.
Add 10 to that. 19.
Wow.
19 from 1917 to 1947. So obviously there's a few years of breaks in between with the two wars that didn't play, but the Paladins shut them out 14 times and outscored them 573 to 40.
Well, if y'all don't mind me throwing this in there,
No,
I would like to say this. I've been very pleased with my time with Coach Hendricks, and he and I have connected really quickly. And whatever your plans are Saturday, we're going to try to get our whole team over there. It's a 30-minute drive. Let's get over to Spartanburg. And he's got a great coaching staff. I've known Coach Staggs for probably 10 years now. Our wives are close, families are close, and he's phenomenal. And we need to support these guys. And we're all in this thing together. And those guys are excited. Let's go down 85, and let's go get a dub down there. And the Alabama-Florida State game is 2017. All right, you can record it. You can get home. You can watch it. It will still be with all these commercials. You'll still see the whole second half. Let's make a commitment as Paladin fans. Let's go down to Spartanburg. Let's show up in purple.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. With what we know about the Wofford offense and what we've been told about Furman's offense, with what they're hoping to do as far as running the football and running at the fast tempo, game in Spartanburg might be over in an hour and a half. So
there you go.
You'll have plenty of time to catch.
You have plenty of time.
Second half of that game. Bob, thank you. Robbie, thank you.
Appreciate it.
That'll do it for us. We will be back with you tomorrow, same time, same place, and look forward to having you here then. Until then, for everybody here in the room, Forrest, I'm Dan, saying God bless you. And so long, everybody. We will see you tomorrow.